Hello, sixth graders, it's Mrs. Parsons here again, and I'm going to do another video that talks about fractions, and in particular when we're working with dividing fractions. And I wanted to take a step back. We've now learned about modeling fractions when we're dividing them. We've now been introduced and we're starting to implement the reciprocal rule, the standard algorithm for dividing fractions. But there's another component I want to discuss when we're dividing fractions, and in fact, even when we're multiplying fractions, that may help you when you're trying to solve those types of operations. So the two things I'm going to talk about in this video are mixed numbers and improper fractions. And now Mrs. Parsons has already talked about these before, but I want to go through both of them one more time, because then looking at them and what we can do with them will help us as we move forward in the week and move forward in the year when we're thinking about multiplying and dividing fractions. So I want to take a step back and I want to talk about an improper fraction and a mixed number, or a mixed number and an improper fraction. The first one I'm going to pick up is a mixed number. And I want to remind you that a mixed number is made up of a whole number and a fraction. So when you see a mixed number, it is made up of a whole number and a fraction. Example, 7 2/3. That is what is known as a mixed number. And the reason I'm making this video today is for when you have these in multiplication and division problems, something that you can do to them actually might help you solve those problems easier, might make it quicker for you. And what I'm talking about is converting. I want you to learn how to convert mixed numbers into improper fractions, and I want you to learn how to convert improper fractions into mixed numbers, because when these things appear in multiplication and division problems, if you can convert them, it makes it a lot simpler for you sixth graders to actually solve the problems. So I'm going to use 7 2/3, and I'm actually going to convert that to a mixed excuse me, I'm not going to convert it to a mixed number. I'm going to take it from a mixed number to an improper fraction. And remember, sixth graders, oops, I flipped my page. They're now going to call an improper fraction a fraction that is greater than 1. A fraction greater than 1. That is what they're calling it now, but it's still just to Mrs. Parsons an improper fraction. So if I start with a mixed number, what a mixed number really tells me is that I have some holes. Got a little tickle. I'm going to get a drink. Step off camera. Drink and step back on camera. A mixed number tells me I have some holes. These are the holes. I have 7 of them. And then it tells me that I have 2 parts out of the next hole. And what this little denominator means, remember, this is my denominator, this is my numerator. This is what you have in a hole, what you have in a hole. And this tells you how much you have. How much you have of the whole. Can't get rid of that tickle. So what this tells you then, sixth graders, in the mixed numbers, this is the whole, and these are the parts you have to the next whole. And in this case, you only have 2 out of the 3 parts to make another whole, which really means you're 1/3 away from having 8. If you had 1 more third, you would have 8 holes. And instead, you have 7 2/3 because 2/3 doesn't make a whole. This denominator tells you, sixth graders, that's how many parts you have in every whole. And I know that sixth graders like to do this when they're doing math sometimes. They like to look at that if they want to add up and see how many parts they have all together. They'll say every whole is 3/3. That's 1. 3/3. That's 2. Because we know any numerator over the same denominator gives you back 1. And then they'll break it up like this until they have 7 of these. And that's a great process, but there's something actually quicker that you can do that will turn this mixed number into an improper fraction for you really quick. And that process is for you to take your whole number and multiply it by your denominator, because every one of those wholes has 3 parts in it. So the first whole has 3, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, the seventh whole, they all have 3 parts, which means that those 7 wholes, when I take 3 times 7, that means there are 21 parts. And then there's 2 extra parts in the next one that I don't have a whole of. So then I just add those 2 6th graders, and this mixed number of 7 2/3 as an improper fraction is actually 21, 22, 23 thirds. That's the improper fraction. It says that I have 23 parts. Every whole has 3 parts. And if I want to convert that improper fraction back to that mixed number, it would say I have 7 2/3, which is then back to my mixed number. So you can interchange your mixed number and your improper fractions very quick, because you can multiply your mixed number and add the extra parts. And in an improper fraction, you use the inverse operation of division. So I'm going to show you that on a larger screen without all the words. I had 7 2/3. There are 7 wholes. Every whole has 3 parts. So I'm going to multiply it by 3 because my denominator says I have 3 parts in every whole. That gives me 21. So there's 21 parts right here. I also have 2 extra parts in the next whole, but I don't have all of the whole. So then 21 plus 2 is 23. My denominator will always stay the same because that tells me how many parts I have in every whole. And then 6th graders, that mixed number is now an improper fraction. So I like to tell kids a little bitty rule you can use is take, and I'll write it over here and I'll write it in black. So if you like to think of it as a little bitty rule, you can say denominator times denominator times the whole number. And they're probably going to get on to me, so I better just go ahead and get rid of that x because they know we're working with algebra. So denominator times whole number plus the numerator, and you put it all back over the denominator. And when you do that, denominator times the whole number plus the numerator, put it all back over your denominator, you then get an improper fraction. And that's a lot easier, you will see, when we keep dividing and multiplying fractions, ladies and gentlemen. It's a lot easier if we say we're going to divide and multiply fractions to make sure we have a fraction. This is not a fraction. This is a mixed number. So we want to make it look like a fraction, even if this fraction is improper. Well, now once we have that improper fraction of 23 over 3, we can turn it right back to a mixed number. We can turn that improper fraction right back to a mixed number, and we simply do that with division, because a fraction, that is a division line. And so all I have to do is ask myself, how many of the denominator will go into the numerator? How many times does 3 go into 23? Well, I know 3 times 7 is 21. 21 from 23 leaves me 2. I use the same denominator again, and that turns that improper fraction back into a mixed number. So 23 thirds as an improper fraction is the same or equivalent to 7 2/3. And you can do that with any mixed number. 9 1/5. 9 1/5, I take denominator times whole number is 45, plus the 1 is 46 over 5. 9 times 5 was 45, plus 1 is 46, leave my denominator. I can put it right back to a mixed number. 5 goes into 46 9 times. 9 times 5 is 45. 46 minus 45 is 1/5. And then I'm right back, ladies and gentlemen, to my mixed number. Mixed number to improper fraction. improper fraction back to a mixed number. And it is very important to do this, sixth graders, or to know how this works, because we're going to be doing some multiplication and division problems that look like this. 3 2/5 divided by 1/8. In this, as we know, division is a tough thing to do with fractions, but it's even tougher when you don't see two fractions. So it'll be a lot easier for us to actually convert the mixed numbers. 15 plus 2 is 17 over 5. This is our keep part. This is our switch part. This is our flip part. It'll be a lot easier for us when we are multiplying and dividing fractions to convert our mixed numbers and then get our improper fractions and convert them. Because now, sixth graders, once I've converted this mixed number in this division problem, rewrote my reciprocal rule, that wasn't very good, rewrote my reciprocal rule, I now know it's a multiplication problem. Well, this multiplication problem, sixth graders, is 136 over 5. 8 times 7 is 56. Carry my 5. 8 times 1 is 8 plus 5 is 13. And then 5 times 1 is 5. Well, now I have an improper fraction, and I want to convert that, because you do not want to leave your answer as an improper fraction. So I'm going to convert that back, and I'm going to say 5 into 136. 5 will not go into 1. 5 will go into 13 2 times, which is 10. 10 from 13 leaves me 3. 5 into 36 will go 7, which is 35. It leaves me 1. And then I'm going to get a decimal, and on and on and on. And I won't work that all the way out, so I can try to keep this video short. So sixth graders, that's what this video is for today. Looking at mixed numbers and improper fractions and how to convert those things, sixth graders, to help us when we eventually do more and more problems involving multiplication and division of fractions. When we do those, we want to make the fractions or the mixed numbers in the simplest form that we can, so that we can solve the problems quicker and easier for ourselves. So that's the video for today. I'll see you all back tomorrow. I hope you have a wonderful day.